Hey Baddies! In this video, I'm making Japanese milk bread. This recipe includes a Tangzhong, which is the process of cooking a portion of the water and flour together on the stovetop before mixing it into the dough. This process gelatinizes the flour, which increases its ability to retain moisture, so you end up with softer, more pillowy bread that has a longer shelf life. So, let's get started. The first step is to make the Tangzhong. Combine the flour and water in a saucepan and cook it on medium heat until it thickens into a shiny paste. This should take about 6 to 7 minutes, and the spatula should be able to leave a clear trail across the bottom of the pan. Pour the Tangzhong into a separate bowl to cool, and cover it so that it doesn't dry out. Meanwhile, prepare the rest of the dough ingredients. In a large bowl, combine the milk, water, yeast, sugar, salt, melted butter, and the cooled Tangzhong in a large mixing bowl. The milk and water should be just slightly warm, or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the liquid mixture is well combined, add in the bread flour. I like to get my hands in there to mix it, then dump the dough onto the counter. Now it's time to start kneading. Push the heels of your hands downward into the dough and fold it over itself. At this point, I'm 6 minutes in and the dough is still not very elastic and definitely hasn't formed a window pane, so I continue kneading for another 6 minutes. My arms are pretty tired at this point, so I cover the dough and leave it to rest for 5 minutes before coming back to it. These rest periods really help the dough relax and make it easier to knead, so I highly encourage taking short breaks whenever you need them. We're nearly there now. As you can see, the dough is a lot more elastic. After another 8 minutes of kneading, the dough feels really smooth and flexible. I do another window pane test, and thank goodness it's finally ready. You should be able to stretch the dough thin enough to see your fingers through it. This took me 20 minutes of active kneading, not including the 5-minute rest. I round the dough into a smooth ball, place it in a bowl, cover it, and leave it to proof somewhere warm until it doubles in size. This took about 1 hour at about 76 degrees Fahrenheit, but it could be shorter or longer depending on the temperature of the room. Now it's time to pre-shape the dough into rounds. I'm using a scale to divide it in two, but feel free to just eyeball it. Fold the edges of the dough into the middle, flip it so the seam side is down, and use your cupped hands to round it into a ball. Repeat this process with the second piece of dough. Cover the dough balls with a towel and leave them to rest for 15 minutes. Now we're going to shape them into 2 mini loaves. Flour both sides of the dough, and with the smooth side down, roll it out into an oval shape until it's about 1/4 inch thick. You should be able to feel the air bubbles in the dough popping as you roll it out. Next, fold it into thirds by folding the 2 long edges on either side of the dough into the middle. Use the heel of your hand to press the seams down. Then roll the dough into a short little loaf. Repeat this process with the second piece of dough. Once you're done shaping, grease your loaf pan with softened butter or oil. I'm using a 1-pound loaf pan that's 8.5 inches long, 4.5 inches wide, and nearly 3 inches high. Place the loaves horizontally into the pan so that there's one pressed into each corner. Cover the pan and allow the dough to proof a second time. The loaves should puff up and rise about an inch above the pan. This took about an hour for me, but again, the timing could change depending on the ambient temperature. You know it's done proofing when you poke the dough and it slowly springs back while still leaving an indent. Next, brush the tops of the proofed dough with milk. This will give it a nice golden color when it bakes. Bake the bread for 30 minutes at 365 degrees Fahrenheit. Flip the bread out of the pan and onto a cooling rack once the pan is cool enough to handle. Let it cool completely for about an hour before slicing into it, then get ready to enjoy some soft and chewy, milky bread deliciousness.